I'm going to say it right now for everybody to understand. In my opinion, the great Chris Paul, a person that I think is destined for the Hall of Fame because he's one of the elite point guards this game has ever seen. I think more pressure is on Chris Paul this year than ever at any time in his career. And that includes when he arrived in L.A. and it was him with Lob City, with DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin. Chris Paul, because of the greatness of James Harden, combined with what they did last year, get into within one game of an NBA Finals. Basically, Chris Paul, who just re-upped for 4 years, $160 million, once you get back healthy, this is the year where more than any other time in his career, you're going to look at Chris Paul and you're going to be like, no, it's showing you. Because we know what James Harden can do, and we know what he has done. All I'm saying is that it's not a matter of focusing. It's a matter of rationalizing and recognizing the greatness of James Harden. And it's like, what more can this man do?
You're building in excuses. You're focusing on the wrong cat. This is not about Chris Paul, who's a great player. They're going to need Chris Paul if they want to win a championship. I am very bullish on the Rockets right now, much more than I was to start the season. They added Carmelo Anthony, nothing went right. Carmelo Anthony goes, Bzdelik comes in, and that was not coincidental. The defense gets better. And now, curiously, the timing of the injuries on this team has me feeling confident about them, because Chris Paul is having a nice long rest as his body is healing, and the same thing's going to happen to Clint Capella. And yet, if we are to believe the timetables, they will be back with enough runway to be ready and integrated into the team for the playoffs. So I'm bullish on the Rockets because, Stephen A., how can they win with this style of play with James Harden? They're winning now. They're winning all their games practically with this style of play. So what it comes down to, and the reason you're focusing on the wrong guy, is can James Harden do it when it matters most? You talk about the greatness of James Harden. He is excellent in the regular season. He's unbelievable. But when it matters most, can he do it? And I know why you ask the style of play, Molly, because if it's ISO or if James Harden's holding the ball a lot, then other shooters get cold. That's the idea. How can everything work like it does against a team like Golden State, who moves the ball so well and so many open shots? Or even if they got past Golden State and saw a team like Milwaukee or someone like that who moves the ball so well and gets all these open shots. And what I'm saying is this. Even with the Rockets, without Chris Paul last year in Game 7 against the Warriors, missing every single shot from three, Harden went 2 for 13. Hey, James, hit your three-point shots, and you can still beat the Warriors with the rest of the team cold. That's how unbelievable he is until it matters most. He must hit shots in the playoffs.
Well, since you want to regurgitate what your point was about James Harden, allow me to do the same. I am of the mindset that if James Harden had hit threes, then the Warriors would have hit more threes. Because remember, wait a minute. That's the point. You picked the Rockets, I picked the Warriors. Hindsight is 2020. We can highlight why a particular team lost, but the conditions under which you play sometimes influence how you play. So what I'm saying to you is that if Houston were making more shots, in my estimation, Golden State would have been even more efficient.
And what about Chris Paul?
In other words, they would have done more. I remember, Max, we walked into the series with me picking Golden State when Chris Paul was healthy. In other words, we'll never know. Right. But I was of the mindset that they would lose to Golden State whether Chris Paul was healthy or not. So when you bring up what they did in Game 7, I'm saying if James Harden had hit threes in Game 7, if Trevor Ariza hadn't gone over 12, all I would have said is that Golden State would have won.
I am trying to prove a counterfactual, which can't be done, and then you're countering with another counterfactual. All we have is what actually happened. I don't think it is. Let's put it this way.
Chris Paul got hurt.
I don't think it's unreasonable to assume that if you lose by single digits at home during the worst shooting night in the history of the NBA from three, and your second best player, an MVP caliber player, is missing, it is not unreasonable to think that that team would have won.
And I don't think the team that is explosive as Golden State can get dismissed.
The point is this. They lost, and Harden did go 2 for 13 from three. Was it even that?
It was 2 for 13 from three.
From three. And they lost by 9. So in this way of doing it, which I agree is oversimplifying, hit 3 more threes and you're in overtime. Hit 4 and you win. It's not that simple, I get it, but the point is the same. When it matters most, he can't hit shots. His defense got better, everything. They can win. They can win the championship this year. They can win playing like this. James Harden must hit big shots in the playoffs.
Can I ask you one question that I'm just unclear on? So I understand you're saying that obviously he needs to show up, and that's the monkey on his back in the playoffs. But when you're talking about they can continue to win this way, putting up these kind of points, you think this is sustainable for one player?
I would say no, except he's sustaining it. Like, what am I going to say?
But
He's not doing what he's doing?
It's January. We're talking about till June.
If the question is, will James Harden average 45 points for the rest of the season and the Rockets win? No. But they're expecting Capella back. They're expecting Chris Paul back. He won't have to do this for the rest of the season.
What I'm saying to you is this. I am not negating your point, nor have I ever, that James Harden, who shoots 41% from the field in the playoffs for the Houston Rockets, although averaging 27 a game, he shoots 41%.
Under 30 from three.
Hold on. He's shooting 41% in the playoffs. I get that. My point to you is James Harden doesn't have to be what we're witnessing in order for them to win if Chris Paul is what he's supposed to be. If you sign for max dollars, if the dollars that you got prevented Trevor Ariza from staying there, you at some point in time have to show up and be that superstar. So all I'm saying is I know that James Harden has to show up, but Chris Paul has to show up with him.
This is what I'm saying. I'll counter that. Yes, if Chris Paul comes back and
that's
balls,
all I'm saying.
They have a better shot. But I'm also saying this. If Chris Paul comes back and isn't a superstar, he's just a good player, and James Harden is there, he can play like this. We see him sustaining this for weeks at a time. Do this in the playoffs for weeks at a time when it matters most. And they can even beat Golden State if Harden can do this. He hasn't been doing it.
Was Chris Paul great against Golden State before he went down to the playoffs last year?
I have to go look at the box score. I remember him playing well.
I thought he was great.
Yes, I thought he was great. I remember him playing well.
I thought he was great. My point to you is that it will require greatness from Chris Paul and Harden for them to come out of the West.